Let me ask you something. You're probably in a 9 to 5 right now, or maybe you're grinding through university, but deep down you feel like there is a better way to build income. Maybe you've looked into property, but the fact that you have to put a large deposit down, the mortgage, the interest, that's already put a roadblock in front of you without you even starting. Maybe you've looked into trading, maybe you've tried trading, maybe you've done dropshipping, Amazon FBA, maybe even high ticket sales, but it never really worked out for you. You're not lazy, you're not unintelligent, you just haven't found the right vehicle for you. That is exactly where I was. If we haven't met, my name is Habib Fazli. I dropped out university in search of a better vehicle to build income. I tried many businesses and I failed them. I even got scammed for £4,000 on my very first deal when it came to property. But I was still able to build a portfolio of over 10 rent-to-rents here in the UK. No, it wasn't luck. No, it wasn't guessing. But it was a systemized business model called rent-to-service accommodation. Right now in 2026, there are thousands of people who are doing the exact same thing, replacing their 9 to 5 and actually fulfilling their dream desires. If you want to learn more, continue watching this video and I'll show you exactly how you can start your very own rent-to-service accommodation business here in the UK in 2026 for free. Without a further delay, let's get straight into the video on how you can start your own rent-to-SA business in the UK in 2026. So this is a complete journey from concept to scaled operation. All you have to do is follow the frames left to right, top to bottom. Each frame is one module of the course, right? Follow the framework. This is the foundation. Anything you build on top of that is completely up to you. What is rent-to-SA, right? And what does arbitrage mean? Is it the same as ownership? So let's get straight into it. Rent-to-SA, essentially, it's you rent from the landlord like a normal tenancy, but you rent it on a long-term tenancy. Let's imagine that the rental figure for this is £1,200. Then you furnish and you list that property on OTA platforms such as AirBnB and Booking.com, and you charge a nightly rate for this. For example, guests pay nightly of £90 a night, and you get an average occupancy of 75 to 80%. So 90 times 22 will bring you in £1,980. The profit left is £500 a month after bills, cleaning and fees. This is just a simple mathematical equation. Your rent plus bills, your total revenue from your OTA platforms, minus them, that is the profit that's left. Now, what is the difference between a traditional rent versus a rent-to-SA? A traditional buy-to-let, you need large capitals, often 50k plus deposit is needed. You yield your profits, or you increase the value of the property by 4 to 6% every single year. Tenants length 6 to 12 months, sometimes they don't pay. And in most cases, you find a problem with the boiler, most of your rental income or profit for that month is gone. For some, it's even for the year, right? The cash flow is very, very limited, and there is high mortgage exposure. Lastly, it's very hard to scale. You need large sums of money to scale this type of business. In comparison to rent-to-service accommodation, the capital required is very low, right? A fifth of what you need for a buy-to-let. The yield is 2 to 4 times rent in revenue, and the stay length of every guest on average is anywhere between 2 to 7 nights. It's high cash flowing, and the ability to scale this business to 6 figures and 7 figures, it's not that difficult. Okay, so let's go on to model number 2. How do you market research, right? You want to do this business. You've understood the differences between a buy-to-let and rent-to-service accommodation. Now you want to get involved. What sort of market research should you do? Well, the first thing that you need is find a location where there is high demand. If we look at this demand bullseye, we can see that a location with hospital plus station has an increased demand in comparison to a property or a location that only has tourism and events, right? Because they are going to be seasonal. Whereas if there is a hospital, there's train stations, there's hotels, they're going to be there indefinitely, right? So demand is always there. Let's look at some of the demand indicators. Occupancy should be about 75%, because at 50% you want to break even. So if you have 75 to 85% occupancy, you've got enough wiggle room to make profit. Depending on your area, depending on the rent you pay, the ADR should reflect the occupancy and your rent. There should be good guest magnets, hospital, train stations, hotels, and there should be year-round events or year-round demand. Granted, you're not going to make money throughout the whole year. There are going to be slow periods, but the periods where it's busy, you should be able to make enough so that the slow periods are covered should you be losing money. And there's more demand magnets there that you can get into. Some of the UK hotspot regions are Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds, London, of course, without a doubt. Now, let's move on to number 3. Number 3, it's all about finding properties, right? How to source the right deal. We know we've done the market research. We know the location in which we want a property. But how do we find the landlords or the agents, right? So there's different sourcing channels that you could look into. And this is in priority order. Number 1, we've got letting agents. It's direct relationships and you can rinse and repeat. This is the hardest way to get a rent-to-rent deal because most often agents are actually really against company-let agreements and rent-to-rent agents, right? They are against it in some cases because they think you're taking away business from them, and that's, you know, their 8 or 10% commission every single month from the landlord gone. But that's not the case. So if you pitch it to them in a manner where it's actually serving them, it's actually a gold mine because they give you one property and they're happy with it. They will give you more and more because they always get new stock. The second most important is direct to landlords. Now, there's many websites and there's many platforms out there that are direct to landlords and direct to vendors. For example, we've got OpenRent, very, very powerful, as well as SpareRoom. In most cases, most of the time, landlords themselves list their properties on these 2 locations. So you have direct communication with the landlord. And if you're good at, delivering the proposals that you have for them, they are more than likely to accept it very, very quickly. I'm not going to get into the rest, but you can see another 4 ways of how you could do outreach. Now, let's differentiate between a good and a bad deal. What to chase? What are the green flags? A 2 to 3 bed flat, which is in a central area, it's good. Furnished or unfurnished, it's also fine. But if you get a property that is furnished or already has furniture that is good quality, that's just going to decrease your overall expenditure when it comes to the starting fee. It's very important that you have a property that is modern or has good decor. Parking or nearby transport, it's a plus, especially if you're targeting contractors. And with a station, if you have tourists, they're not going to have cars, right? So they're going to be looking to use public transport. Lease allows service accommodation or sublet. You don't want to get into a property that explicitly says no subletting, right? Because then you would have spent 5 to 10k on furnishing the property, giving a deposit to the landlord, for you to find out 3 months later that the leaseholder wants you out, right? So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure everything that you do is legal. Right, guys, so let's move on to number 4, segment number 4. This is all about negotiating, conversation with landlords and agents, okay? So here are a few things that I want you guys to be aware of before you have those conversations. So what are some of the objections, the frequently asked or the frequently covered objections that you will be facing with a landlord or an agent? What if guests damage the property? Very, very common. Because a landlord, especially a landlord, all they care about is, will the property be kept well and will my rent be paid? So the way you respond to this is you have 1, you vet every single guest that comes into the property. That gives them a reassurance that parties will not be taking place at the property. People with illicit intent will be coming to the property. You have a proper vetting system. Number 2, you talk to them about the proper insurance that you have, that your company has, that OTA platforms provide you with, the deposit that you take from each guest. These are just two of many more things you can mention to them when overcoming this specific objection. Right, let's go on to another objection that's pretty common. I want a higher rent for SA use. Okay, now you could offer a 5 to 10% premium in exchange for a longer term lease, right? But I wouldn't recommend that. This is the angle I want you to come across. If they ask you for a higher rent, right? And let's say you still are able to offer a higher rent because the numbers, the deal stacks, right? But you need to come across this angle because one, it increases your professionalism and your experience in the game in the lens of the landlord, and number two, you're just making the deal a better deal for you. So instead of just increasing the rent for them, just say, well, the thing is, we take care of most of the management at the property. Any damage that's upwards of £150, we don't even bother calling you for it. So with that in mind, I don't think it is reasonable for you to charge us a 5 to 10% premium on top of what the market rent currently is. That way you're doing two things. You're handling the objection very well. And number two, you're giving them another reason as to why they should go with you. Because like I said previously, if a landlord gets their rent paid on time and their property is kept well, that's it. They don't want to be called for every single issue at the property, for every call up with a door handle or a broken window. But if you give them the reassurance that you will be taking care of that, they will sway towards you in terms of selecting you as their tenant. Now, some of the must-have contract clauses in your contract, I'm not going to go through all of them, but the two very most important is, of course, you need to have permission to sublet. If you don't have this, do not sign an AST contract. You need to have permission to be able to sublet. That is a no-brainer, right? The other thing I would say is always have a break clause at 6 months, just for you. That way, if the deal is unprofitable, you can exit in a very short amount of time. So let's move on to legal and compliance. These are non-negotiable foundations that you need to have set. If you don't, you are building upon a weak foundation, and what happens to the weak foundation when it's built upon? It crumbles. So let's make sure we do these few things before any lease. Okay, we check council, we check with the council and their short to let policy, right? We confirm freeholder consent if we're buying a leasehold. So let's make sure the compliance stack from bottom to up, okay? So, very critical. Number one, check the freehold. Check the leasehold. Do they allow this, right? You don't want to go into a contract blindsided. Very bad if you do so. And confirm freehold consent. Verify mortgage permits. Very important. Do you need a HMO license? You need to check upon that. And there's many more that I've listed here. Okay, and skip the ones that do not apply to you. This is just very generic. There's a bit more information here that you can read in your own time. For example, the 90-day rule, the licensing, HMO, the other licenses going from a C2 to a C3, and obviously all the other safety certificates. Now, number 6, this is the fun part. This is my favorite part. The setup on the furnishing, from empty flat, from a dead flat to a lively flat, right? So getting it ready. What do we need? We need a budget. So for example, this is just a typical 2-bed. You would need the beds, mattresses, sofas. I would recommend sofa beds. That will just increase your occupancy rate as well as how much you can charge on a nightly basis, right? These are just rough, very rough budgets for all the things here. And for example, linen, you might want to buy 2 or 3 packs of each just so you have it in rotation. And over here, there's just different suppliers, like IKEA is a go-to, Amazon is a go-to, Wayfair is one that is very slept upon, so look into Wayfair. And there's others here, Dunelm, Argos. They will really help you in that sense. Now, let's say you've now set up the property, you've got a professional photographer in. What do you really need? Now, you need that one hero shot, that one photo that you can put on as the main photo on your listing, on Airbnb, on Booking.com, on Verbo, wherever the platform is. That's like it's the photo that brings in the customers for you, right? And then you need clean photos of all the bedrooms, the kitchens, the bathroom, the utensils in the kitchen as well. Not all of it, but just the generic idea of what is available at the property. And detail shots, so like coffee stations, some of the amenities that are extra that you're providing. And I would really aim for 21 photos and over. Right, that is a minimum of photos that you should have. The more photos you have, especially on Airbnb SEOs, the more they are going to push you out and put you on the first page. Okay, and this is just further essentials. Let's move on to number 7. Now this is all about platform strategy, where most bookings come from. Right, Airbnb, 60% of your bookings will come from Airbnb. It's got the highest visibility, it's leisure heavy, right? So Airbnb, it's the biggest platform out there, so make sure you focus on your optimization of your listing. Booking.com, I say a little bit less, but equally important. Okay, it's international, it's business. Booking.com has everything, so flights. So when people are booking flights, they are going to look at accommodation naturally, so it's very important that you also optimize your listing for that as well. Verbo, Expedia, again, big one. It's more family travel or long stays, well, at least from my experience. So focus on that, and then as you grow your business, focus on building a direct website and a direct booking platform, so you could cut out on all the OTA platforms. Dynamic pricing, make sure you have dynamic pricing. Don't just follow one stagnant price and just stick to that. Get dynamic price tools. Price Labs is a good one out there, so must follow it. Block one night gaps, don't have one nights, minimum 2 nights minimum. It prevents from, you don't want multiple changeovers, prevents parties and bad guests as well. Have discounts in your listing, promotions, very important. Okay, now let's move on to number 8. Operations. Right, so let's look at a guest journey. Okay, the automated touch point. So guest book, let me just zoom into this. Guest book, they make a booking, so this will be auto confirmed, ID verification request, house rules acceptance, and a welcome message. You can all automate this on your OTA platforms, especially on Airbnb. I think it's very easy to do it on there. Pre-arrival, have like a message 3 days before they arrive, sending them check-in instructions, asking them if they need anything. The day of the check-in, I would recommend sending the details on how to check in on that day when they check in, just so you don't give them the information too advanced. They may forget about it, so on the day is good. Whilst they're at the property now, you want to give them like a mid-stay check-in, just to see how they're doing. You want to increase your response rate with them, give them that good feeling, right? And this will end up with you getting a 5-star review. So maybe on the second day or third day, just send them a check-in message, how they're doing, do they need anything and whatnot. And number 5, checkout. Once they check out, or as they're about to check out, the night before, you want to send them the details on what to do for a smooth checkout. And there's another one that's not here, which is missed out on the order, but as they have left, 6 hours after they've left, just send them another message thanking them and asking them to leave a review, because this business, especially on OTA platforms, your reviews are your business. And over here is just cleaning protocol and maintenance protocol. That itself I will let you guys have a read at. And tool stack, I'm just giving you a few tools to use I'm just giving you guys here a few tools to use to automate, to systemize, and to make your life easier when it comes to this model. Hostway, Price Labs, Breezeway is for cleaning and maintenance operations, and this is very good tool to know the level of noise at the property. And for direct booking, Stripe is the one that I use. Very easy. If you're building a direct booking website, you can build it on Hostaway directly on their platform, and then you can link it to your Stripe account as well. Right, let's go into financial models. These are just the must-know numbers that you should know. Revenue, platform fees, net revenue, rent to landlord, utilities, cleaning, linen, consumables, insurance, software, maintenance, total cost. So these are the numbers and names that you need to know to understand your business, how much money is coming in, how much money is leaving. That way you have a better understanding of what you need to improve on, where you need to now grow, how you can scale, what opportunities you have to scale when it comes to your finances. There's nothing major in this that I want to go over, but you guys do get the gist. Right, so just a few other things I wanted to go over is the break-even sensitivity, right? I've mentioned this before, but 15 days out of the month should be your break-even point. When you hit break-even at 15 days, you have another 15 days to make profit, right? So even if you make profit 6 days out of those 15 days, you're still in profit. You're making good and reasonable amount of money. Now 62% for me, I think maximum I would go for is 65%, depending on the area. And the target for me would be at 75%, I need to be in a good amount of profit. So these are just the numbers to remember before you are stacking your deal, okay? Now, last but not least, number 10, this is all about growth and scaling from one unit to a portfolio operator. Now, this is it's very simple. So this is the base camp. This is where you prove to yourself that the model works. Now, unit 2 to 3 is the repeat. You're repeating the model. And when you get to unit 4 and 6, this is where you hire people, right? So before the 4th unit, you're managing everything yourself. You're learning the business, right? You can't make a hire before you actually know the business. So you need to know everything about the business. So when you make that hire between unit 4 and 6, you know everything about the model. So, and when they give you hurdles and boundaries, you're able to answer those questions very easily because you've been there. And after that, if you really want to systemize the business, I'd say at unit 15 and over, make that hire for a manager, and then after that you could look to systemize, make it an agency, or even exit. And just a few other things I want to make sure you guys are aware of before you go on to another unit, especially when you first start out. Before you go on to that second unit, make sure these things are on lock. You have 3 months of profitability. Your relationship with your cleaner is 10 out of 10 because your cleaner makes your business or wrecks your business. It's simple as that. And you've got a good rating on Airbnb, Booking.com. You've sustained a good rating. Like I said previously, reviews is the business when it comes to this type of business. Okay, and there's more. There's more here, but these are the important factors. Okay, and I'm just gonna come here. You guys could take a screenshot of this, whatever you like to do. These are the resources that I have mentioned in this short program. Very, very important for you to have a look at this, especially to systemize your business, researching at the beginning of the business, and compliance and insurances. If you made it to the end of the video, congratulations. You're already ahead of most people. Most people watch, nod, and do absolutely nothing. But if something in this video sparked your interest, don't let that die out. Actually chase it. Learn more about the model. The model itself is very simple. Don't let it confuse you. You find a property, you list it on Airbnb after you furnish it, and you just pocket the difference between what you give to the landlord and what you get paid from OTA platforms. If you like this video and you enjoyed it, just do me a favor. Like, comment, and share it with someone that may need it or is looking to start a rent-to-SA business in the UK in 2026. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.